Now for the shrimp pattern, what I'm going to be using is this hook here. This is the Ahrex, if I pronounced that correctly, shrimp hook, size 6, you can see there. It's a nice shape, you can see it on the vise obviously, the size 6. The main sizes I'm tying at the moment is up to a size 4, so it's a good sort of all-round type size. Now thread, I'm just using a white thread. Now you could use, this is just an 8/0, but you could easily use a heavier thread. I'm quite happy to use the finer thread. Now when you quickly run the thread down, the thread's waxed, I waxed that again, so there's plenty of grip there. I'm just going to run it to the bend of the hook, to this point here, and we tie in the eyes. Now the eyes are these are the easy shrimp eyes. Now they come in lots of colours. This is the standard size. There is an extra small if you're using the size 10s and 12s. Because shrimp do come in all sizes. Now you can see they're black. Now there's a small ridge on this, and I mean you can tie I usually tie it on the underside, sorry. So just catch it underneath with a rib, the fine one. It just basically, it's a rib on the actual plastic that gives the grip for the thread. We just basically tie that on. Just run the thread up and back down. There's plenty of grip there. Nice and tight. You see it goes on really easy. So the first fibres is the feelers. Now the feelers could be, you could use any material really. This is some Rhea that I use. You can either use the white, or in this case the natural grey, because it suits the colour of the shrimp I'm tying. Don't mind an odd broken fibre, but cut enough off just to form as I say, the feelers. Just tie it on. Length is basically, I used to keep shrimp in, I used to have a saltwater tank, and they can be really long, the feelers in shrimp. So you're looking at least twice body length to 2.5 times. Take that away. And we can just tie these on. Now as you can see, I'm tying it to the underside of the hook, because when we put beads on this, the beads are going to be tied on the top of the shank, and then that encourages the shrimp to sit this way in the water. So anyway, just encourage and tie on these waist ends. Now just turn it back round where it normally would sit. We tie in the longer legs. I'm going to use some polar fibre. It's a white polar fibre. Just trim it away. The under fur there I like to keep for dubbing. Now obviously these get slightly shorter, so we tie these on basically at the top of the shank. Trim these at an angle. So again, what we're doing here is basically building up the taper in the body, so it's heavier at the back and tapers towards, in this case, the eye of the hook. So see how it's sitting. Looks fine. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to use a clear nylon. This is an 8-pound nylon, clear. I'm going to use for the rib. Tie this in. So all the way down. It's fine. Now for the legs I'm going to be using, this is the Coq de Leon. This is the white and Coq de Leon. I'll show you. There we are. This is a medium Pardo. It's a saddle I'm using at this point. At the saddle you get the longer fibres. Didn't buy it just for tying shrimps, I bought it for tying big large mayflies, and even the smaller feathers I've used in sort of small dries and such. But it's very good for, I use it again for other patterns, like there's a mayfly, I use it in a spinner. So the capes are nice as much as the saddles, so you can pick between the two. Now I'm going to tie this in by the tip. Now this these legs, they give the impression of legs, but there's also, they give the impression of the shell, the markings on the back of on the shelf itself. It's basically a pattern that, it's like, I would call like the Money. It's an impressionist. It gives an impression of, and movement and all these things that you look for. Now, what I've got here is this is a supernatural dubbing I've had for many years. This one here's as you can see, it's peach. Now, peach is, this colour is a blend to get that colour. And if you can see there, it's a pink and yellow blend. From a distance it looks orangey like, so it gives the impression of the inners of the shrimp, or the krill itself, and they swim high in the water at times and they swarm up, or shoal up anyway. And this orangey colour certainly is a trigger point to the fish when you see it, so it's worth certainly adding to your pattern. Just at this point here, there's not a complicated pattern, it's just time consuming because of the length of time it takes to tie. Now I'm going to use a rib here. You could use a finer rib if you want. You could either Pearl, or in this case this is the Opal Mirage UTC. This is a large, so when you catch this in, just for the body part, so you basically class that as the thorax. This is the body, so I'm just making sure it's tied. Now I'm using a natural dubbing. This is a blend I recently did on video, which is hare's body fur mixed with a bit of UV. And I use this in small shrimps as much as large shrimps, and it's a favourite of mine on quite a few flies. And it's very good for grayling. I catch a lot of grayling on it for when they're shrimp feeding or on scuds, which is basically like a hog louse. Which you get in the house, there's one you get in the water. They're everywhere. So anyway, fish love to eat them as much as they love to eat shrimp. So I'm just dubbing this on, building up the body at this point here, and then I'm going to taper it off towards the eye. Just take your time, working your way down. Then with obviously room for the eyes, well, as I say the eyes, but the beads, the beads near the front is to flip the hook the right way. Now you obviously, depending on the type of bead that you use, or dumbbells, depends on the depth that you get. Now you can actually fish this without the bead at the back and just fish it, let it sink its own weight, or you can add weight to it by using chain bead or so. But I put that on basically after tying the fly. So I've got my pearl rib I'm going to bring up first, and I'm going to bring this towards myself. So open turns, this last turn here, it will try to slip towards the eye. So what you can do is hold it back and then do a turn onto this point here, catch it in as quick as you can. Now because I'm coming towards myself, not winding with the thread which is away from me, I've actually got to lock it in, so I do a turn on it and a turn on the hook which locks it in, and that's it. You can bring out some of the dubbing just lightly, just to give it a bit more body, bring out some of the flash, give it a wee bit more leg, as they say. There we are. Now I'm going to bring the hackle up. Now I'm going to bring the hackle up the same way I brought up the rib, because I'm going to cross rib it with which is going to hold the shrimp together, the fly together, basically with an island. So I want at least 2 to 3 turns near the thorax area, and then I just follow the pearl rib up. Just don't worry the way it goes, it'll go always, but just wind it up. Now I like a turn or two at the top. See where we are, see what it's like. Have a quick look. It looks terrible at the moment, so but once we finish it, it'll be fine. And again, we've got to go over the hackle and the turn on the hook, just basically a zigzag to lock it in, trim away, just then bring your rib up through, just ignore it at this point. Now your rib goes the normal way, same way as your thread. Basically what you're doing is cross ribbing your hackle, locking it in, and your pearl, securing it in nice and tight all the way up. Now as you get to the eye, just stroke back these fibres with your fingers, just roll them back out of the way, and so you can tie off. So basically what I do is control this fibres as you come up, catch it on, 90-degree bend into the nylon, make sure it's tied in. You can fold it back, which it's probably worth doing. Just fold it back, tie over the top with the thread. It'll never, it's got to break off, never pull out if you do that. Trim that away. Now what I'm going to do here is just bring my Velcro through just to lift out some of the fibres. And again, what I'm going to do as well is just to show you, it looks terrible as you see, it looks like a right mess. But if we hit it with the hairdryer, you'll see it forms its nice shape. Just pull back the fibres, just roll your fingers through. Just take your time and you'll see that shunt shape that you're looking for. Just hold the fibres for a second and they'll stay there. So basically that's how it's going to sit in the water. Well, slightly will be up, but I'm going to be tying, because I want to flip the hook, I have to tie the beads on top of the shank. So I've got the dumbbell, which is just basically a chain bead, and I use a pair of snips. Just lay these down just now. There's a pair of snips. Take them away. Now it pays as well, when you cut these off, the very ends of the beads can be quite sharp. You'll feel it with your finger. I've got a wee file, or you can use a wee bit of sandpaper, you can just take that down a bit and feel it with your finger to see if it's rough, because this will cut your thread and you don't want that. Again, to the other side. Now, as I say, you can use this. These are a medium weight type bead. If you were going to use, if you want it deeper, obviously use lead or metal, steel, solid. It'll get deeper. Using different weights for different waters you're fishing. So I'm just going to figure eight this on just to get it started. Now I like to wind, put some super glue in the centre of the bead, top and bottom. And then what happens when you're winding or tying in the beads itself, make sure they're square, just check from the top. It's instantly again sticking, it's solid. So take some turns in the front, some turns at the back, just again make sure it's tied in. Just going to be quite a wee bit messy here, so what you can do, a tiny bit of dubbing, just catch it in at the back here, just the back of the eyes, tidy it up, then take your thread to the front, quick finish, trim away your thread, and there we are. Bring out the eyes and stuff so you can see it. But if you look, if you pull in this cocktail fibre, very glassy like fibre this. Use it in tails or dries obviously, and it gives the same impression. It even gives the impression of shut, the fly, and this will give the impression of the shell because of the freckly look and it's got, obviously you can see through into the rib and into the thorax here with the brighter colour. And then all you have to do is just, you could either use a UV resin or a wee drop of varnish, just plunk it in there, do a couple of coats. The fly should last. Just allow it to dry. And there we are. Yeah, show me what it looks like, could be a bit better. Quite a hard fly to show what it actually looks like, but what it's going to do, I'll just put it on these. It's going to basically be like this in the water, pulling. A lot of movement. When you pull quite fast, this will pull together. It'll be very minnow-like shape because of the teardrop. So obviously there's your feelers, your legs, obviously your body, and your weight. That corrects your shrimp where you want it, and sits up off the bottom. So anyway, there we are. Call it what you like, it's just a pattern for me. Just tied with the Coq de Leon, so we call it the Coq de Leon Baltic shrimp or something like that. Have fun with it, mess about with it, try it, let me know how you get on, and if you enjoy the videos, again, if you can, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.